Welcome, everyone. This is the Hidden Dimensions podcast. Welcome to our episode. I'm Dan Richard. I'm your co-host. I'm a co-director of the Florida Data Science for Social Good program. Here also with co-host Karthik.
All right. Hello, Karthik Umapathy, co-director for Florida Data Science Social Good, and co-host for HDIM podcast, Hidden Dimensions podcast.
Yeah, great. So on Hidden Dimensions podcast, we're looking into those perspectives and values and techniques that really give data science its meaning, its value, its purpose in this ever-changing world. That's what we are about here on Hidden Dimensions. And for today's podcast, we have a really dynamic, special, wonderful guest, Dr. Lucy Chen, who is the Vice President of Advocacy and Community Engagement at Cathedral Arts Project here in Jacksonville. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, so the focus for today's conversation is really about what CAP has been doing around data and data science, and to see how that gets leveraged for really making community impact. And so we appreciate you being here. And so why don't we start with that little bit of a background for our guests, for those watching. Tell us a bit about like how you got involved with CAP, but then CAP has been doing data-informed decision-making for a little while now. And so maybe give us a little bit of history of that and what's been going on with CAP.
Yeah, so CAP, this year actually, in fact, we celebrated our 31st anniversary. Mm-hmm. And in the past 31 years, we have served over 35,000 students here in Jacksonville. So CAP's mission is to empower every child's creative spirit, and we offer in-school programs, after-school programs, and we provide arts therapeutic services, and we also advocate for arts education. And it's funny that you mentioned how did I get started in this. I'm a pianist by training. Okay. And I started to play before I turned 3. And you would see, that's the look I always get. Wow. Right. You would think this is like one of those protege stories. I never shared this with either of you, did I? Yeah. So you would think, okay, this is going to be a protege story. Well, when I gave my first public performance, when I was 3, it was Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. Okay. And at this point, all I can remember was my dad wildly gesturing, get off the stage. The reason being, I forgot the ending to Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. Now, fast forward a couple of years.
So did you just start like playing the intro over and over again? Or you just stopped and you're like, I'm not sure we should end?
I think I just kept playing, but I just remember it was a huge stage, right? Any 3-year-old would be traumatized by that. And all I remember was my dad say, like, get off the stage. Yeah. So through trial and error, of course, many more trials and errors. My training is actually in piano performance, and I performed in London and in Carnegie Hall. And through this journey, what I learned most was that arts can change the trajectory of many kids. Yeah. And that is why I firmly believe in the mission of CAP, in the work that we do. And we have results to demonstrate that students who enroll in CAP score 7 points higher in their academic performance. Why? Because students are engaged through the arts. When they're in a classroom, through arts integrated teaching strategies, let's talk about physics, right? Yeah. And the concept is so vague and it's so hard to grasp. But non-Newtonian fluid, how do you demonstrate that to a child? But through arts integrated activities where you are, for example, we just pour cornstarch and water. I think that makes oobleck, which is non-Newtonian fluid. And then when we put on different sounds or even through a song, you can see the vibrations. And that is how kids learn these concepts. I may not remember what non-Newtonian fluid is, but the kids will remember that experience. And I thought when I went into the classroom, none of the kids are going to remember that term. They were second graders. When we left the classroom, we asked the kids, what is that special word you learned today? 90% of the kids remembered the term.
Wow.
The arts have an impact. And so, so that is the work that we do.
Yeah, that's kind of like the passion point, right? You realize, wow, this is so wonderful and so helpful for kids. And then now CAP has been, part of this mission, getting kids connected to the arts for many years, and they've served so many students. And then, one of the things that we realized as we started to get to know CAP, right, was how they use data to help them make decisions and to develop their programs. So maybe you can tell us a little bit about that data story around CAP. When did they start collecting data, and when did they start really getting into the use of that data for change?
Yeah, so CAP is very honored to be the backbone organization for an initiative that is that started in the Kennedy Center. It's called Any Given Child. Only 26 cities are have the recognition of being a Any Given Child city, and Jacksonville is one of them. And CAP has been the backbone since 2014. And in 2018, in partnership with the National Endowment of the Arts, 6 cities were nominated to start a data program to collect data using surveys to understand where the access gaps in arts education is. So we've been collecting data, and the survey is called LEAD, which stands for Landscape of Education in the Arts in Duval. So the goal of that is to understand where the access gaps are and how community partners like CAP or like other organizations can come together to ensure that every child have equitable access to arts education.
And is the principals are the one who's completing the survey? Who's completing the survey?
Yes. So we are very, very honored and to have a very strong partnership with Duval County Public Schools, where we have been started this journey since 2018, and now it's 2024. And it's been 6 years, and we are very grateful to be partnering with DSSG, with the two of you, because you have helped us see a lot of the hidden needs that others may not know about. So this has been a really incredible journey, and the 8 weeks over the summer where we get to work with you, that is my summer highlight.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is a highlight for us too.
I'm glad to hear.
So some of those insights, you mentioned that you were able to identify those gaps. And so what were some of those initial discoveries that you saw in the data as you started to look at it, look deeper into it?
Yeah, so we start to comb through the data and through the surveys, and what got us really what got us really excited to see, there is more than just the surveys, is when we merge the data through the surveys with the Department of Education. And so when we looked at that, we looked at, let's look at schools' access to the arts and their school grade. Is there anything that stands out? And we learned that schools that had more arts programs, more arts teachers, more students enrolled in the arts programs and arts offerings tend to have higher school grades. So that means that students have better academic results by having more arts in their lives. So that was one thing that we got very excited about. And then in the summer, when we were working with you all, you helped us learn a lot more about what the needs of our community were. We looked at using different analysis that the two of you and the interns helped us. We found that having arts field trips or even opportunities for after-school programming can drastically improve a student's learning outcomes. And so we really honed in on that.
So we kind of talked about, arts and arts program and how you find out in the data wise. So there is different ways Now the students can have access to this arts, right? You talked about after-school program, field trips, right? Some of the two things we also identify from data. But you can just give an overview about what are the other ways CAP is providing arts access to the students.
So we provide after-school programming, but we also have therapeutic services for students who may need music therapy or arts as a therapy. So we provide services like that. But when we look at the different outcomes, we learn that students, they all benefit from having arts in their lives. But one of them, I think it was the summer, 2 summers ago, when we first start to comb through the surveys, we found that by having just one field trip for students will drastically improve their academic learning. And so what we did was we used that piece of information and we shared it with all of our community partners, and we wanted to demonstrate that this is something where students need. And by having data, it allows us to share more than just anecdotal stories, because heartfelt stories is one thing, and seeing the glowing smiles of students going on a field trip, that's wonderful. But actually seeing the outcome, that really helps community stakeholders, policymakers understand where the needs are. So that has been very helpful.
So the data find that arts helps in students engaging with their academic thing. That finding helped you to get community partners and policymakers engaged with the arts access issues. The reverse engagement is also happening.
Yes, it really is. And so through the collective impact work that we have been working with the Kennedy Center and the National Endowment of the Arts, we linked arms with our community partners, including all of our cultural partners here in Jacksonville. And by looking at the data, that by having one arts field trip can help improve students' academic learning. So this summer, in fact, you're seeing the field trip passport alone.
Yes.
We start from having kids last summer by inviting kids to go on to one field trip to the Florida Theater. We saw the excitement, the glowing smiles, how eager the students were when they went to see the theater. And then we actually match academic learning. So we build a curriculum around the field trip so students remember the content far deeper. So before the students went on the field trip, they had a learning guide. They read the stories that would be performed in the theater. And then next, there was an art activity. Students designed masks because they're going to see a theater show. So the students designed a mask. And on the day of the field trip, when you see the students coming into the Florida Theater wearing masks, thousands of kids doing that, you knew they did their homework. But really what struck us and what made us think this is far bigger than just the arts is building a sense of community for these children. When we asked the kids, so tell me, what was the most exciting thing for you? Well, of course, they shared the stories that they watched sitting inside a historic theater. But a lot of the kids actually said, this is my first time going over the bridge to the other side of Jacksonville.
Wow.
Because they have never been to the heart or see the skyline of Jacksonville. So this was an opportunity for them to not just learn and grow academically, but also allow them to understand the cultural fabric of our city, for them to see what Jacksonville has to offer, for them to know that this is their city, and these cultural field trips and the Ritz Theater, the different museums, Kummer Museum, MoCA, and all of these are here for our community. So that that really opened our eyes, and that is how we were able, of course, first by having the data to demonstrate the impact of arts and field trips have on elementary age students. starting one field trip, seeing the impact of that. And this summer, we expanded this to 8 different partners. And so this is really a tremendous growth. And to now see we're offering opportunities to up to 4,500 students to go on different field trips. All of that is because of the data finding through the DSSG program. If we only share these stories, we forget about those. But when we actually see this, the plots and also to see results, that really tells a different story, and it's clear.
Yeah, and the data was not like the one time. It was multiple years, and we were able to show year after year. So in that sense, it's powerful story, and it's not like a one-time fluke, right? So that really helps in messaging the right story to the right stakeholders. Yeah.
And I remember you helped us comb through at least 3 to 4 years of data at that time.
Yeah, 18 to 22.
And now, through that work, we're now revamping the surveys to help us gather more information, more in-depth information that we didn't have in the past, so that we understand where the access gaps are.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's part of what I like about this story, and I'm glad we have a chance to share it with our listeners and viewers, is to see the pathway of using data to make decisions, and then it's not just decisions about the data itself. Like we do make revisions to the survey, and we're learning things about the data that's being collected, but then to implement those changes in the organization itself to build that community partner support. Sharing the information and building that, and really having a collective impact for our community and for, our citizens, our children in our community and families in our community. And now to see not just one field trip, right, but now young people are having the opportunity over the summer to do multiple field trips with educational programming around those field trips. You can just really feel and see the impact of the work, and so it's a story that goes beyond the data, I guess, is what I would say, and it's the part that really that I like and that I value as being someone who works in this space, is to say, okay, yes, it is about the data, but it's not just about the data, right? It's about the impact that it's having on the community.
Yes, I remember I was sitting in one meeting and I heard there were actually a couple people who said Jacksonville is a land of studies or research, and then it gets lost.
Yeah.
But I think what we were able to do together was demonstrate that by utilizing data, we're able to make informed changes that have a lasting impact on youth and on everyone. So.
Yeah, and I think another part of that story, too, is that continued engagement, right, that CAP had. So it's not just that you collected data, you analyzed the data, right? You make one decision, and then you never look at it again, right? But that it was that continuous engagement with CAP to say, what else can we discover? What's more that we can learn from the data? Let's revise, let's improve, but let's continue to engage with the data and see what it's telling us. I think that's an important part of that story of collective impact as well.
Because, for example, a lot of this work can't be done in a silo or by one organization. It's through different partnerships. Of course, we have our business and cultural partners. We also have philanthropic partners such as the National Endowment of the Arts. We also have partners from the Rice Family Foundation, PNC Foundation, and a lot of our city, Kids Hope Alliance, came and supported this initiative because we understand the impact, and it's measurable impact, and I think that is the key. So this data from just being on a piece of paper or on a bar graph or on a plot to seeing kids going to the symphony this morning, that is really transformational.
Good.
So what's on the horizon? What's next for CAP and what you all are doing with data? What do you see as kind of like those next steps and where you'd like to go in the future?
Well, I guess we're going to share a project this year,
That's
right?
right.
And I think in the last 2 years, we've been working on building a roadmap for principals to understand how community partners can help and support arts programming in their schools. So we redesigned this survey to now have information that's specific to middle schools, and thanks to DSSG program for building out a wonderful rubric so we can understand through different dimensions that the schools will be evaluated and providing more measurable results and giving suggestions as to how community partners can come together and help. And we want to celebrate the principals. So we are looking to launch a principal award with our community partners and to highlight the work of our principals. They may be the ones who are linking arms with community partners that we're not aware of. And they are the ones maybe making the phone calls to the parents to say, hey, I think your child should be in a theater because of X, Y, and Z. And we want to celebrate the work of our dedicated arts educators because they are the ones who make all of these transformational results, and they are the ones who are there to assist. So we want to celebrate our principals, and so we'll be launching an arts award through this work.
Good.
So, so you've got the report, and I think that's really, like you said, transformational, right? When the principals now have the data in hand, like they've kind of responded to the survey, but now they get a report back, and they can see actionable items, right? That say, okay, here's where we can improve. And I think a lot of arts education, at least it's been for several years, in a kind of lean environment when it comes to funding, is making the most out of the resources that they have. And I think that's one of the goals for that award system, and that STAR report is really helping principals and school administrators know, like, what are those actionable places, those leverage places, right, where we can implement something, even though we may not have a lot of funding or, things are limited. There's opportunity to make those changes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we're grateful for all the community partners who come together to support this work. And by recognizing our principals for all of their dedication and hard work. In addition to that, showing it's a roadmap just simply to guide, and it's a suggestion as how community partners can come and provide a lot of free programming for the schools. So that's something that we look forward to continuing and to celebrate the work of our principals.
Yeah, so one thing that we like to ask here on the Hidden Dimensions podcast is really about, so I want you to think about other community organizations, and maybe they're at a different stage of using data to make decisions or having that community impact. So for those community organizations that are just kind of getting into this realm of using data science to make their decisions, what suggestions would you have for them as they kind of go along this journey? Because, it doesn't happen overnight. It's something that takes a while to develop, and there are all kinds of meetings you have to have and discussions you have to have about data. So what would you suggest for them?
See if there is a DSSG program near you.
In your area.
Yeah.
Are you as fortunate as us to have DSSG? Yeah.
Yes, it's. I'm very grateful that the two of you have been in this journey from the very start, and this has been a wonderful collaboration. So, yes, please look for a DSSG program near you. That is one
way to get started.
Yeah.
And what else? Like, what are those other steps, right? Like, okay, so let's imagine they don't have a DSSG program. Like, what sort of things should they be thinking about when it comes to data and using data to leverage change that you would suggest?
There's a lot of data cleaning.
Mm-hmm.
There is a lot that goes into the work. There's invest time, energy, and effort into doing it, and use the data to help decision making because it reveals information that we didn't know before. Invest in time.
Yeah, it's hard to know sometimes, like that all the investment is going to pay off, right?
I think part of the survey that and some of the data we gathered, I think back in 2022, we learned that principals, and actually throughout a couple of years, that principals in Duval had between a penny and $3.99 to spend per student per year on the arts.
Wow.
And I don't know if you went to Starbucks this morning, but a cup of coffee is absolutely more than $3.99.
Yeah. And then you said a year.
Yes, per year per student.
Per year per student. Yeah.
And so when you look at that number, it's quite sobering to understand how much resources principals actually have and how much they need. And as community partners, our goal is to help bridge the gap and help support in ways that we can to ensure students have arts in their lives so that they become more engaged citizens, more engaged students, and ultimately, it's the betterment of our city. And that's the ultimate goal.
Good. Yeah, so the gap, in a sense, we talked about money, so only little money, but that does not only allows them to get the resources, doesn't allow them to hire art staff members, doesn't allow them to do field trips, or as you mentioned, going other side of the bridge is not easy, costly, cannot gain access to community partner, right? It's pretty much no principal will be able to take any actions without proper support system, and pretty much that's what CAP does.
And having the support system for our principals, I know that all of our principals are doing incredible work, and they all of them go above and beyond to serve their students and their families. So whatever community partners can come in and help and provide resources where principals find the need, we're happy to come in and just to help and be a helping partner in serving the students.
Yeah, and so Lucy, it's just fantastic, chatting with you and learning more about the mission of CAP and its focus, and it's been so great for us as we've worked with you through the years. It's refreshing in a lot of ways when we want to talk to people about data that we don't just get like closed doors or like, I'm sorry, I have to go. But, you all have really kind of embraced that mission. And so, thank you for being that wonderful partner to partner with us on looking at data and jumping in, so to speak.
Well, thank you both for having us as a partner, and we look forward to achieving greater things.
Yeah, more results to come, everyone. And so, thanks for joining us on this episode of Hidden Dimensions. And we appreciate you for being here. Thanks for joining us. And as always, let us know what you think. If you're a community organization and you want to learn more, send us a note, send us a comment, and be sure to subscribe. And we'll see you all next time on Hidden Dimensions.
Thank you, Lucy.
Thanks.